So I thought I'd share a little bit of what happens when I start a professional reading and some of the small amounts of kit, because I don't have much, that I would use. The first thing I have treated myself to recently is this little Bellroy pouch. Basically, you will find me on any average day running between my desk, which is here in a corner of my bedroom, and a caravan in my garden. And right now in the south of England, we have a lot of rain. So the last thing I want to be doing is just carrying my pack of cards in a pretty silk bag, where they could easily get wet in my bag, or because I put them down to unlock the caravan. So this is perfect just to carry my absolute basics. And I travel light. I have a clock because when I'm reading, I'm in my right brain. I'm in the full flow of reading the cards. And if I don't keep a check on the time, I can lose all track of time. I always, when I'm reading professionally, have a notebook. And I start with writing the client's name down. I need to point out this is imaginary. There is no Sam today. Because when I'm in right brain, I forget names. Even if I've known you for years. You may suddenly see me looking slightly surprised as I'm trying to work out who the hell are you. I know your story, I know your cards, but your name will have gone from my head. So I write it down, and I also write the time. Because again, when I'm in my right brain, when I'm in full flow, I can completely forget whether we started at 6:30, 7, 7:30. There was a time, it was a couple of years before COVID. Everything's before and after COVID. So it must be about 6 years ago now. And a client bought a friend of his to me for a reading. And it was only meant to be half an hour reading. But it was really in the flow. The cards were so on point. There was a knock at the caravan door. It was dark by this time. And my client popped his head round the door and said, "Is everything okay?" And his friend and I were like, "Yeah." And my client was like, "Well, this was meant to be half an hour reading and we're now hitting 2 hours." And I was like, "Oh." So I have learned, write down the name, realizing you can't see it up there, and write down the start and end time so that I don't forget. In my bag, I really don't have much. I do, of course, have my cards. I have a small notebook just because it's useful. I have my business cards. We just move here. I have my business cards. I have my rune cards. I have a couple of crystals. I don't need them to read with. I just like them. The other one is, there we go. And that's basically it. I don't need anything more. I don't need the pen and paper. But what the pen and paper does is it means, I do have a pendulum snuck in there as well. I don't use it particularly. I just found it absolutely beautiful, and I'm rather in love with it. When a client first comes into the caravan or first joins onto Zoom, the first thing you need to know about my clients is every single one is different. Some clients at the very start will pull out a numbered list. This might be on their phone. This might be on a bit of paper. It might be printed. I've never had it laminated yet. I've had up to 40 questions, for a half-hour session on one occasion. And so the first thing I need to do is I need to put my client at ease, and I need to work out what their expectations are. Because if we've got a 20 or a 25-minute session and they expect me to cover, should I leave my husband? Will I sell my house in the next month? And if I do leave my husband, will I get married again and have another 2 children? They need to know that I'm not covering that in a 25-minute session. So that's my first port of call, is to check what my client's expectation is. Now, I also do shamanic healing. So I need to check in quite quickly. Is my client expecting or hoping for shamanic healing? I had a client today. First time clients usually are more interested in the tarot, but within about a couple of minutes she'd made it clear she was an experienced energy practitioner and she believed she was under severe psychic attack. And I was like, fine, we're not really going to spend more than a few minutes on the tarot. I need the full 50 minutes to deal with this healing. So that's my first point of call, is to check in with my client. What is their expectations of this session, and am I able to meet them? Because there's nothing worse than getting to the end of a session and a client thinking, oh, well, I really thought you'd answer all my questions. And me thinking, well, I kind of knew at the beginning I wouldn't. The next thing I do, and if you're a regular client of mine, you may have spotted this or you may not, I will almost always do a check-in. I mean, there's no always. Sometimes it just genuinely doesn't feel like it's needed. What I'm actually doing is I'm checking, are you in a safe space to receive this reading? The one thing I don't think that is covered enough by tarot readers is client care. And in fact, I had a very, very regular client, a very together individual, come to me today, yesterday, for quite a long session, because another reader with the very best of intentions had expressed the reading in a blunt and difficult manner, and it had left this lady really very upset. And actually, I get this a lot. So this is one of the first things I'm doing, and I'm just going to demonstrate my reflection spread. I'll demonstrate it on me. Curious to see what the cards say about me right now. Temperance, getting the balance right. Actually, I have been working less recently. I have been taking more time to read and relax. I'm getting better. So the first card is how I am. The second card is a situation, a problem, a wound, something that needs to be integrated. And the King of Swords is time management. I am integrating it. The cards at the bottom is the card in my unconscious. This is what I'm holding. The Two of Cups. Now, obviously, it can be romance. I'm currently single. But it's more than that. It's having people in your life who are equal and loving and supportive. And actually, I've been getting a better balance because I am trying to prioritize my friendships. So that's good. In the past, I definitely have struggled, as I believe we all probably have, with self-limiting beliefs. Interesting, the Six of Swords, we pop it over like that. Very often this is guided by spirit guides. I've literally just done a Facebook and Instagram post on my working relationship with my guides. I am a shaman who happens to read tarot. My guides are hugely important to me, my spirit guides. Massive part of my life. I trust them implicitly and I listen to them when I can. And the Ten of Cups, well, I'll take that for the future. That's fantastic. So we've got unconscious mind and conscious mind, past and present, how I'm doing, and the situation or the issue I'm trying to integrate and learn from. So based on that, right now, I'm in a pretty good place. I would gel with that. Card at the bottom of the pack, always worth checking. Empress, actually, you know, that is my role as mother, and I'm blessed that my kids are now older teens and one in their 20s, and they're good company and a great teamwork. When I'm doing this for a client, I'm checking in. How self-aware are they? Is what they're saying reflecting what I'm seeing in the cards? I do read this spread. I'm not doing it to sneakily check in, but I need to know how comfortable my client is with this reading, how self-aware they are, and how ready they are to experience the reading. Another important thing this spread does is very often people will present with one question. I really want to know about my career. And then in the last 5 minutes, the real question will come out. But I'm really worried, is my husband having an affair? But I want to know, can I actually set up a business as a self-employed writer? That is a very common thing to do. And this spread will give me a heads up. Why is the person here? If I was reading for myself and I was my client, as it were, I would be wondering whether the person is here to either talk about relationships or family matters. And actually, it is the comfort of my family that makes me think at some point I might be open for a relationship in the future. So that's what I'm using this first spread for. And with a new client, I will often do this almost as soon as we've had that preamble of how can I help you and what are you here for. Once I've done this, and again, I can't give you a formula because I change it for every client. I can give you a most likely formula. I normally share what I've seen in the cards, and then I ask them for their feedback, for their comments, for what they'd like to ask the cards, for what they'd like to know about. I think this is very important because if you've come to a tarot reader and you genuinely want to know about your career, you don't want the whole 50 minutes to be covered by your relationship. So what I do then is I mind map. I don't keep detailed notes. I don't keep notes that could be understood by anyone else. I might write down words like worried, money. I'm just writing down usual ones here. Relationship. And then I'm starting, again, I'm just piecing together past readings. Get a job. Or is it better for the relationship that we try and book a holiday? And then we might write something down here as I'm exhausted. And as they talk, I'm engaging with my client, but just writing down keywords, mind mapping, so that I can then work out what are the most important questions here. Should I get a job? Is it important that I book a holiday? Do I need to talk to my partner about money? And I'm creating a picture of what is the most important questions I can ask for you. And then when I've done this, I will then basically start to do my more specific readings for my client. I will usually phrase the question first, because the thing is, I may be the expert on the cards, but my client is an expert in their life. So phrasing the question so it's helpful to you is really, really important. Should I get a job? Is a very open question. It might be better to write, is it supportive to my relationship if I get a job? And then we could look at it from a different angle. And I think one of the reasons that I'm successful as a tarot reader is I would be prepared to look at this question from several different angles. I would look at it from the point of a relationship. If I was, let's say, if Sam was a married woman, let's say that they've had 2 children, she's taken time off to care for the children, and now she's wondering what to do. I might write, actually, is this your opportunity to start a side gig? And Sam might be secretly wondering, I hope you didn't lose me there, I'm back again. Sam might be secretly wondering, is this the right time to have a 3rd child? And all of these are different ways of looking at the question of, is now the time to get a job? And what I would probably do is do 3 cards for each of these. Is it right for my relationship to get a job? Is now a great time to do a side gig? I'm secretly tempted by a third child. Is that something that I should talk to my partner about? And often what will happen is that one of them will be a no. It might be that no, it's not going to improve your relationship at all to get a job. You're just doing it as a way to kind of be a peacemaker. And then we might look at these two in more detail, perhaps doing a 9-card read for each of them. And so actually, if Sam, and like I need to make it very clear, I've invented Sam based on various similar readings. If Sam has been a full-time mum, she's got 2 children, she knows that she needs to fill that gap in her life, and she's come to me because she's not sure what is the right way to go forward, this might take 50 minutes easily to look at all the different options, to take a look at Sam. I probably would take a look at her partner. I probably would have a look at their relationship, not to predict, but to help Sam to understand. And an important reason why I mind map is nothing personal against Sam here. I don't want to remember this. I don't want to hold this in my head. Very often my most popular appointment is 50 minutes and that might be 7 till 7:50. The chances are at 8 I have another client. So I write or I mind map down so that I can, when Sam's finished, turn the page and let it go. So instead of thinking things through, which is firstly hard because that's a left brain job, and when I'm reading tarot, I want to be in a right brain space. So mind mapping really helps me to stay in the flow and not overthink. And it allows me to put things to paper and not hold them in my head. Because if I've got 5, 6, 7 clients in a day, I don't want to be remembering their stories. I want to shake it off as soon as I've said goodbye, whether that's by Zoom or in person, on to the next client, or onto my break, or onto my family time, whatever it might be. So I just thought it might be fun just to kind of run through a generalized professional reading with me, just to give an idea of how my brain works and how I structure the session.